this is coming off. Welcome to Talking with Ted Lange. I'm Rob Ruggiero, the producing artistic director. You can get settled, and I want to thank you all for being here and your support of Theatre Works Hartford as we reemerge. So I'm going to applaud you. A little bit of business. If your cell phone is on, just give it a little quick check and make sure that everything is off and on silent. I hope you don't have to get up, but if you do need the restrooms, the new restrooms are back there. I know. And the fire exits are there and obviously back there. So, and please, to keep us all safe, and every theater's doing it, and it's working, keep your masks on. And we're gonna move forward. Proceeds from tonight will support our work this season as we finally return to live theater, and your presence here proves that a safe and responsible return to the theater, live theater, is possible. So thank you again. We're here on the set of Hartford's twisted holiday tradition, Christmas on the Rocks, where Ted, oh my God, yeah, that's Jacques Lamarre, the playwright. Where Ted Lange is returning for his third year. Last year, he did it remotely from Los Angeles. And alongside Randy Harrison, this will be his fourth year. And this year, we have a first, I was gonna say virgin, first timer, Jen Cody, who has been with, I want her to come up for a little minute as he can introduce you. She is the woman this year. So you can pull your mask down.
I'm not a virgin. I'm not.
Thank you for being here. Yeah. There you go. 3 years ago, we needed to replace our bartender and our operations manager, who's also here. Bill Farquhar persisted that he had a fantastic idea. And I'm like, who? He goes, Ted Lange, Isaac the bartender, it's perfect. So I Facebook stalked Ted, I DM'd him, and he actually answered, and he read the script, the rest is history. So thank you, Bill. Tonight is all about Ted. I've always been a Ted fan. I grew up, like many of you, watching Love Boat incessantly. And this past week, I have been rewatching the series to prepare for tonight, just kind of getting in the mood. And it's like visiting an old friend. I mean, maybe all of you not, but I know Jen is with me. Who else just obsesses on Love Boat? Like we've been talking about the episodes, right? So I'm excited for all of you to get to know the man behind the mustache, who's waiting right back there, and it's gonna be fun and enlightening, and I'm sure a few laughs. And so a few Ted facts before I bring him on. Ted is an actor, a director, and a writer. He is best known, as you know, for his role as Isaac Washington on The Love Boat. The series ran 10 plus years and over 250 episodes. Ted made his Broadway acting debut in the musical Hair, and his theatrical acting career spans over 50 plays, including South Coast Repertory's The Piano Lesson. He's done The Sunshine Boys, Biloxi Blues, and a national tour of Driving Miss Daisy. He's a graduate of London's Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and Lange has written 22 plays and garnered multiple theatrical awards. He exemplifies, I can't wait for this drink. He exemplifies the Renaissance Man Theater Award he received from the NAACP and the Heroes and Legends Lifetime Achievement Award. He received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in recognition for his contribution to the history of television, for his work on The Love Boat. He was bestowed the Best Actor 2001 by the NAACP for his work in Louis and Ophelia. He was the 1997 co-chairman of the African American Steering Committee for the Directors Guild of America. Finishing up, he was also one of the guiding forces of the Directors Guild Fellowship, which instituted development job opportunities for women and ethnic minorities. Please join me in welcoming Ted Lange.
How are you? you, sir.
Have a seat.
Thank you. The other side of the bar. Woo.
So we thought it would be fun that if I served you a drink for one. So I'm gonna make my favorite, which is simple vodka on the rocks.
Vodka on the
and
rocks.
What can I make you?
I would like a White Russian.
Now
Do you know how to do that, though?
I practice.
Okay.
But I drink Belvedere. So I thought, I have tons of vodka at my house. So Belvedere or Kettle?
Let's do Belvedere.
All right, there we go.
Let's stick together on this. All
so
right?
while I'm mixing these drinks,
Okay.
tell us how our rehearsal's going for Christmas on the Road.
Oh boy. Well, first of all, Jen Cody, wherever she's
right there.
She is fantastic. Thank you, Jen. You know, Jen's husband and I are friends, and he was telling me, my wife is really talented, and you go, yeah, you're the husband. What are you gonna say? But he never lied, so I'm really grateful that we're getting a chance to work together, because her husband, Hunter, is just a wonderful theater person also. And we're finding, what's interesting is this play, you can still find new and different things depending on the actor. And Jen has found some things that we didn't even know were there, and they're very funny and they're wonderful. And my hardest job is not to laugh in the middle of the scene, because they're catching me off guard. Thank you, sir.
You want it stirred?
Yes.
So listen, see, I just did that. Not so bad, clumsy, but you asked for milk, I knew in advance, not cream. It's usually made with cream.
Cream, yeah. But milk is less fattening and you can have more vodka.
That is so funny. It's funny being back here. Shall we get this party started?
Let's
do
this.
Sit down.
Okay, my friend. All right. Ladies and gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm actually giving him the White Russian to loosen him up to get to the good stories. So these might go.
I call that the truth serum. Because I try to lie, but once I've had this, I say, okay, well, here's the real deal.
So, a little background. You were born in Oakland, California.
Oakland, California, 2 blocks from where the Panther headquarters were.
Wow.
Yeah. And I worked at KQED. And you know the famous picture of Huey P. Newton sitting in the chair with the rifle and the spear? Yeah. That was taken by the editor and photographer at KQED. He was a white guy. And so one day I was talking to him. I said, but you white guys, you don't understand so-and-so, so-and-so. And he says, do you know who took Huey P. Newton's picture? And I said, no, some brother. He said, no, it was me. I went, whoa. Because, he was cool.
This is how it's going to go. I'm going to ask one little question, and it's going to go on for 15 minutes. So I can only use half of these, probably. No, I love you. So can I say your age?
Yes.
It's on the internet. 73. Doesn't he look amazing?
White Russians.
Did you want to be an actor? And when did that start? When did you realize you were an actor?
Okay, I was in high school. Well, the first time I was in junior high school, which is 9th grade, and we did A Christmas Carol. I played Scrooge, okay?
Wow.
And the teacher, his name was Alan Flores. And I got when you're a class clown, you get 30 people. When you're in a play, you get 300 people, right, to respond. And so Mr. Flores came to me and says, hey, we're going to do Macbeth. I said, oh, great. He says, and I want you to be Macbeth. I said, fantastic. He said, but you can't make any jokes in my class for the next 6 months.
Everybody that knows me just knows that I've completely freaked out because you said the Scottish play. Toy.
Yeah. Oh, wait. No,
you're going to have to run around the building 3 times later.
I have to tell you a story about that. I was with
You're Mr. Shakespeare.
Lynn Redgrave, And Lynn Redgrave, I was directing her on a Love Boat, and we were going back and forth, and we were quoting. I was doing Romeo, and she was doing Hamlet and Ophelia, and blah, blah, blah. And then I quoted the Scottish play. And,
Don't do it. Please don't.
I know, I'm not going to quote. But she stopped me. She said, I'm not going on. I'm not doing another scene, saying another line of dialogue till you leave the building, go outside, turn around 3 times, spit, and then ask to come back in. And I said, oh, yeah, come on.
You will be doing that after the event tonight.
Yeah. And so she wouldn't do it. So she made me go out. I did. I turned around 3 times, spit, and I said, may I come back in? And she says, okay, come back in. And she says, you know so much Shakespeare. Because I started at 14 doing the Scottish play. And she says, you should go to RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. I said, oh, no, that's for when you're younger. She says, what are you talking about? I said, well, look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've done this kind of theater, that kind of theater, and now here I am. I'm on television. I'm famous. I'm making a lot of money. What is the point of going to RADA now? And she said, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were an actor. And I went, oh, well, she says, no, you're not an actor. It's okay, I understand. I said, no. So then I investigated it, and I found that they had a special program during the time that we were off of Love Boat. And so I applied, and they said you needed a letter of recommendation. So I went to Lynn Redgrave, and I said, I need a letter of recommendation to get into RADA. Would you write it? She says, you're going to RADA? I said, I'm an actor. And so that's how I got in.
That's a good story.
Yeah, that's how I got in.
So what was your first, I mean, obviously your big break was the Love Boat, but like we know we're going to get to Hair.
We worked our way up
do you remember your first really important audition?
Yes, we did Romeo and Juliet. I was 18. I just graduated from high school. My high school drama teacher said, I think you got a shot at a career if you want to go for it. And I said, really? He goes, yeah. And we remained friends my entire career.
Oh,
I sent him and his wife on a cruise at one point. Because, nice. I mean, he was like my father. He really was. And his wife was like my mother surrogate, And she taught me at 17 about being jealous of actors on stage. Because we were doing Damn Yankees, and the guy that was playing Joe Hardy, I was playing Applegate, who is the devil in, in Damn Yankees. And I was getting kind of jealous because she would go and she'd hug this guy, Sam. His real name was Sam. And I told her, I said, why are you hugging him? You love me. Why are you hugging him? And she says, no, Ted, I love talent. She says, now, can you sing as well as Sam? And I go, no. She says, is Sam as funny as you? No. She says, everyone that steps on the stage has a unique talent. And as long as you know what your talent is, you should never, ever be jealous of any actor. And that was like the best lesson I could have ever gotten at 17 years old. So that when I went out to become a professional, I'd walk in confident, and I'd go up to him and I'd say, man, you were good when you did the thing. And the guy would go, why are you saying that? I said, because I thought you were good, And they didn't know how to take it, but I had confidence that no one could do what I did, because she pointed that out to me, that everyone is different. That's why you can do Hamlet so many times.
Yes.
And that's like Jen doing the characters, and she's finding her own thing because of her own rhythms and who she is.
Yep.
And that was a great lesson for me to learn, yeah. But I went and auditioned for Romeo. And I used to tell people, I got the job. I was 18 years old, just graduated from high school, went to San Francisco. I'm living in Oakland. I go over to San Francisco, audition for Romeo, and I get the part. And so for the next 10 years, I'm telling people, you know, my first audition, I walked in, nailed Romeo. And they go, oh, really? Yeah, you did? I go, yeah. And so one time there was a reunion of some of the cast of Romeo and Juliet. And I said, hey, remember I did Romeo and I nailed it the first time out? They said, Ted, don't you remember what happened? I said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He said, well, all the Romeos that were auditioning were 30 years old. You were 18. I was the only guy that was young enough to play the part.
Oh, that's so funny.
so I didn't, you know. Anyway.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Tel, you shared something the other day. We were talking about, you know, how people, obstacles in young actors, and you spoke about your stepmom. And if you don't mind, I'd love you to share that, because I forgot how we got there, to be honest.
Yeah.
We were talking about, but you're like, and me, and I think it's a really interesting story on the heels of that.
Well, Garrett Morris and I did, before Saturday Night Live, Garrett and I did a play together called Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. And that was in '72, and we've been friends all these years. And when he hit Saturday, I hit Love Boat. And we were talking one time about the journey of an actor. And he said that his grandmother discouraged him from being an actor because he was short. He was 5'4", very dark. And if you know anything about Louisiana, and particularly blacks in Louisiana, they have a color thing about fair-skinned black people being better than dark-skinned black people. So his grandmother told him he would never make it. Garrett went to New York without audition, nothing. He just went there to be an actor. He had a couple of times where he came really close to coming home, but he decided not to. He stuck it out. And I said, wow, Garrett, you know, that's very similar to my story. I said, he said, what do you mean? I said, well, my stepmother, very fair skin, from New Orleans. And my father was an actor in the 50s in Los Angeles. He was fair-skinned. I'm the darkest one in our family, me and my sister. And my stepmother kind of raised hell on us because we were dark. We'd get the brunt of things. And so we were sitting on the couch, and I said to my dad, I had done the plays in high school. I was 17. And I said, Dad, you know, I think I'm going to go for this. I think I'm going to try to be an actor. He said, okay, good, son. If you ever want to have some advice, just ask me and I'll give you the expertise that I have. Because he was doing theater in a place called the Ebony Showcase in the 50s, which was the only place for black actors to perform. So he said, if you ever want any advice, let me know and I'll try to help you as much as I can. And he gets up and he leaves the room. And my stepmother, who was laying on another couch, looked up and she says, Teddy. Little Teddy, that's what they call it. Little Teddy, how do you think you're going to have a career in show business? You're not half the man your father is, and he never made it. And I said, well, you know, Juanita, I got something going for me that my father doesn't have. And she said, what's that? I said, I'm not married to you. Now, I'm 17. That took a lot of guts. And so she looked at me, and this is what she did. She looked at me, and because she would kick the crap out of my father every time he went to a rehearsal. She'd say, I don't know why you're down there with those guys, only she didn't use the word guys, but I don't know why you're down there with those guys. It's not good. Anyway, she looked at me, and she was so mad, she said, and I said, I rest my case. And so when I started achieving some success, she never would come to see me on That's My Mama, and she would never come visit the Love Boat set when I invited her numerous times to come down and see, because she didn't want to acknowledge that she was wrong.
Wow. That's a powerful story.
Yeah.
Before we leave your early career,
okay,
hair, and what was that like for you? You know, that was revolutionary in musical theater history, and you apparently were naked on stage.
My mother came to, I was in the first national tour. My mother came to a production, and you know how moms are. She said, "That's my son. That's my son." So she pointed me out. And then we came to the end of the first act. We take off our clothes. I'm standing there butt naked on the stage. And the audience says, "That's your son?" That's your son, right? She goes, "Oh my God, Teddy, you know." But I want to tell you one other thing. There was a play, after I did Romeo and Juliet, my first equity show was a show called Big Time Buck White. And it eventually went to Broadway, and Muhammad Ali was in it, and he did it. The show opened and closed in a week. But it introduced me to Oscar Brown Jr. And you have to understand, this is back in the 60s, 69. And in the 60s, we were trying to unite black and white. There was a lot of stuff going on. And so we used to do street theater. So we would go like to Berkeley, or we'd be in San Francisco, Oakland, and I would do an Oscar Brown Jr. poem. So I want to do one of the poems for you that I did when I was about 21.
This is my surprise.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Oscar Brown Jr., if you don't know who that is, when you go home, go on online and type in his name and you'll see who he is. This is one of his more famous song poems, okay? It's called 40 Acres and a Mule. If I'm not mistaken, I once read, back in that short spell I spent in school, where every slave set free was supposed to get, for slaving, 40 acres and a mule. Now, I ain't no telling how much work was done by my ancestors under slavery's rule, but sure as hell the total's got to run at least to 40 acres and a mule. Now, I ain't saying this to see folks sweat, because I'm not bitter. Neither am I cruel, but ain't nobody paid for slavery yet. About my 40 acres and my mule. Don't tell me not to give myself... Oh, we had a promise that was taken back, and when we hollered, it was, be cool. Well, tell me I'm being rowdy, hot, and black. I want my 40 acres and my mule. Don't tell me not to get myself upset. Don't look at me like I'm some kind of ghoul. Just answer me quietly. When do I get my 40 acres and my mule? No thanks, I'll take my own self out to lunch. No thanks, I'll dig my own swimming pool and lay and play around with my own bunch if I get my 40 acres and my mule. Because interest got to go on like rent. I may be crazy, but I ain't no fool. 100 years of debt at 10% per year, per 40 acres and per mule. Now add that up. Ooh-wee! Look at that! No wonder you call great-grandma Jewel. Just pay me that and call the whole thing square. Yes, Lordy, 40 acres and a mule. So we had a little troupe of actors, about 5 or 6 of us, and we'd go around, and we'd go like Union Square in San Francisco, and we'd drum people up and try to say, you know, we've got to come together on things, and we've got to do things that unite us, not separate us. And so then we would do different things, and mine was always Oscar Brown Jr.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
And I feel like there's a thread there. That was the 60s, right, you said? And we're going to talk about, as we talk about the Love Boat years and after, what centers you as an artist and an actor and a black artist is really, you've inspired so many. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're so thrilled that you're here on our stage. So here you are. Yes. So before we dig forward, thank you for that. And then in the 70s, something happened. That audition, that role, that changed your life forever. And let's take a look at them.
Isaac here must be the best bartender on the ship because he always pours you doubles.
And he always charges you double.
Gopher, when you meet the right woman, you know it.
That's like my grandfather used to say. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, he wasn't the first to say it.
Oh, yeah. Cute as a button.
What do you want me to do? Do what you do best. Make a nuisance out of yourself. Now, I don't have to tell you how to do that, do I? All right, flip a coin. Only one. No, Gopher, I'm not going for that. You're not going to get heads. You lose 2 out of 3. Now, who has the orange juice?
Who said let them eat cake?
Cute little reel, right?
Yeah, it is.
Adam did that reel for you, Adam did.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Great job.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you, I did an audition. I did an audition for that role.
What happened?
Okay, it was this was an ABC show. I did a show for ABC called That's My Mama.
Right.
Now that I screen tested for. And I'll tell you, this is another valuable lesson I learned, okay? That's my mama. I played a young street kid, about 16, 17 years old. And there were 3 actors up for the role. The first guy was the prettiest black guy I ever seen in my life. But he wouldn't know a joke if he fell over it. You know, and he could barely talk. He was obviously a model.
Right.
The second guy was a guy named Ray Vitti. And Ray Vitti was good. So I knew that was my competition, was this one guy. But he was about 6 feet. I'm 5'7". So I looked more like a street kid than him, but he was really good. And when we were doing the screen test, it was the first time I'd been in a movie studio. So I went around and I was asked, I said, what do you do? He says, well, I'm the cameraman. Well, what do you do? Well, I'm the operator, I'm the focus puller, I'm the set designer, and this, and then I went to this guy, I said, what do you do? He says, well, I'm the prop man. See this box? Come over here, kid. He opens up this big, huge box, and there's everything you could ever want in this box. Chewing gum, quarters, nickels, dimes, whatever you need is in the prop box. And he says, what's your name? I said, Ted. He says, I'm Ted. I said, really? He goes, yeah. So he said, so we're getting ready to do it. So the young kid is on first, not very good. Ray Vitti goes on, and he nails it. And I go, wow, that's going to be tough to get this one. So
You were watching them?
Yeah, we watched each other's.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, we watched because we're all in the studio.
Yeah.
So each one gets a turn. And so just before I'm getting ready to go on, the prop guy comes over to me. He says, you know, we got a bet going on here. Because the crew were taking odds. And he said, my money's on you because you're a Ted and I'm a Ted. And I said, oh, okay. And the bit was a young kid comes into a barbershop and he's selling a picture of Hank Aaron. And an autographed picture of Hank Aaron. And he says to the guys, he sells the picture to one of the guys, so you know he's a street hustler. Mm-hmm. And so the guy looks at it, it's the old man, he looks at it, he says, hey, Junior, that's my character. He says, doesn't Aaron spell his name with 2 A's? So you know it's a phony. So I go, yeah, but he was in a hurry. and then I leave. So the prop man comes up to me, he says, Ted, use the phone. What are you talking about? The pay phone. There's a pay phone in the barbershop. Check the coin return. That's a hustler. Okay?
The prop guy.
The prop guy, not the director, not, you know. Not the writer, the prop guy, because they've seen everything come down the pike.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. And so I said, okay. So I positioned myself for when I have to do the line that he was in a hurry. So the guy said, hey, Junior, doesn't Aaron spell his name with 2 A's? And I did like this. I checked the coin return. I said, yeah, well, he was in a hurry. Boom. And I went out, okay? I see Ray Vitti about 2 weeks later. He says, you got it, didn't you? And I go, yeah. He said, when you did the phone, I knew I lost. How did you come up with that? I said, just on the spot, man. Just on the spot. And so this is what I learned. When we would do a camera rehearsal with 4-camera tape on half-hour sitcom, That's My Mama, I always listened to the cameraman. Because the cameraman, if the cameraman chuckled when you're doing the run-through, then I mean you had a decent laugh. If he actually laughed out loud, you could have a showstopper. You know, you could have a showstopper. So if he went, you knew that was a good joke.
Wow.
Okay? So that's what I would gauge every week. I would gauge my performance off of the crew because they've seen everything. Wow. All right? And I never forget, we had some new producers come in the second year of That's My Mama. And we were rehearsing. I said, you know what? I don't think this joke is a strong joke. Now, previously, when we said that, the writer, producer would go, okay, well, we'll write another joke. With these guys, I said, I don't think it's a strong joke. They said, it'll work. I said, no, it's not. He said, no, it'll work. And so we would rehearse all week, and all week I said, I don't think this joke is strong enough here. They said, no, you just do the joke. That's your job, do the joke. Are you committed to the joke? Well, yeah, but it's not. So then we did it in front of the crew. No response. So I went to the guy, I said, hey, this joke isn't gonna work. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, the crew didn't laugh. And they looked at me like, are you out of your mind? Get back in there and do the joke. The joke never worked. We bought an audience, joke didn't work. And so I said, so can we write a new joke? They go, no, we'll sweeten it. And that means they'll put in canned laughter. You know? So that's what I learned. I learned that the crew is really important, not only for lighting you and miking you and everything else. You have to respect them because they're also the audience.
Right.
You know? And so that was another big lesson for me to learn, and that came in handy throughout my career. But to get to the Love Boat, so I did That's My Mama. Then I did another show for ABC called Mr. T and Tina with Pat Morita. This is pre-Karate Kid. Okay, before Karate Kid, Pat Morita. And based off of that, they came to me because what happened is the writing was not strong, but I scored on my entrance every time my thing came, the needle went up. The laughter got big. So ABC took notice of that, and they said, we want you to meet Doug Kramer. So I sit down and I meet Doug Kramer, who is the producer that's putting the Love Boat together. And so I'm sitting there, and I had the script. I said, and he says, and there was really nothing to the role, really, at that time, but it was going to be a regular. And he says, do you get seasick? Now, if you're an actor, and they say, can you ride a motorcycle? Do you know anything about horses? You know?
Of course.
Yeah. I never get seasick. As a matter of fact, you know, I rode a boat over here, you know? So he goes, okay, fine. Thank you very much for coming in. So I go, all right, so then I leave. And now here's the other thing. Jimmy Comack, who did Mr. T and Tina with, sorry, yeah. Thank you. Jimmy Comack, who did Mr. T and Tina, wanted to do a series with me. And he was going to feature me as a star of a series. And it was either Love Boat or Comac. And the thing came down the pike, and we chose Love Boat. So I went on and did that.
Yeah. Did you know it was going to be the hit that it was?
No.
Yeah.
The only person who knew was Gavin MacLeod.
Really?
Gavin MacLeod said, "This is a winner." And me and Fred Grandy said, "Boy, this guy's losing it." This guy, because, and Fred and I, here's the great news. I met these 5 people, Jill Whelan, Gavin MacLeod, Bernie Coppell, Lauren Tweez, and Fred Grandy, and they have been my friends from that very first day to this very moment. Yeah. And we all looked out for each other. And as a matter of fact, when I was getting short shrifted as a performer, Fred Grandy and Bernie Coppell wrote an episode for me. They went to the producers and they
We're going to get to that episode.
Oh, okay.
Shortly.
All right.
It's the one, right? We're going to show. Yeah. Don't say which one it is.
I won't say which one it is.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but we've been friends, and we really are friends. That's the good news. Like you and me.
Like you and me. Theater creates, theater, like TV, creates these families.
Yeah.
And we collect people, and you collect people in your lives. And it's hard to explain what that means, but we're lifelong friends.
Yeah, we connected.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it is sometimes you never connect.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, you just never can't wait to this gig to end. Let me get the hell out of here.
Yes.
I don't want to see that guy again in life. But sometimes, you connect and it's lifelong.
Well, I just enjoy being with you and these stories, which is why I wanted to do tonight, because I was like, I got to share some of this. Like, we were laughing because, like, your wife, his wife said, Rob only has to ask you one question, and then the rest will take care of itself. But listen.
My wife, actually, we're at Thanksgiving dinner. My wife goes, "Don't ask him anything. No, to the family. No.
No. All right, one quick question, because I thought it'd be fun to pop it in. What were the ship's 3 regular ports of call?
Mazatlan, Acapulco, and Puerto Vallarta.
Bravo.
Yeah.
All right, I have to ask this, and I know it's a terrible question, but if you had to answer what your favorite episode is.
Oh, that's a terrible question.
What's your favorite episode?
No, because I had so many.
If I was going to give you $100,000 in this moment, you had to answer, what would you say?
Hong Kong. I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Gene Kelly. You guys know who that is? Gene Kelly. All right, so Gene Kelly's on the show. The producers come to the regulars, they say, "Don't talk to Gene Kelly. He's a grumpy guy. He hates everything. He hates you. He hates the show. He just wants the money. Leave the guy alone." So we're in Hong Kong, and I'm sitting on a bus. We're all on a bus, and we're getting ready to go on location and shoot the scene. And it's just me and Gene Kelly. And I go, I know I shouldn't talk to this guy.
It's so you.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't talk to this guy. But it's Gene Kelly. Oh, my God. So I go and I do this. And he's like reading a magazine. And he looks at me. It's like, can I help? He doesn't say anything, but it's like, can I help you? And I go, what was it like working with the Nicholas brothers? Now, you have to consider, everybody would ask Singing in the Rain. Here's this black guy sitting down and saying, I know who the Nicholas brothers are. So he tells me a wonderful story, which I won't go into, about the Nicholas brothers. And then we shoot the scene, and he says, hey, Ted, why don't you come back to the hotel and we'll have a drink together? So, yeah, man. Me and him were like this. But we go back, and he tells me some wonderful stuff, and philosophy and stuff about show business and what to do, but not to do, that sort of thing. He was really,
It's a really wonderful story.
Yeah, it turned out he was really.
And you didn't get in trouble?
I didn't tell anybody. I'm telling you now.
So that's a perfect segue into one of the things that was amazing about Love Boat is it had this big list of celebrity guest stars every episode throughout the years. That's that really kind of formula to see all those people. Some better actors than others. Gene Kelly, the Pointer Sisters. It kicked off the careers of Tom Hanks, Martin Short.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a little collection of quick answered questions. Quick answered. Oh, I'm gonna have to refill you.
Okay.
Which celebrity surprised you the most? Like when you met them.
Yeah, which ones? Dana Andrews. Do you know who Dana Andrews is? He was in Laura. And he had great stories. You think I got good stuff? Dana Andrews, and he had been an alcoholic and he had given it up. Wow. And so he was straight as an arrow. But he was really fascinating. Dana Andrews.
Dana Andrews. Who would make the best drinking buddy?
Oh, Fred and I, I'm sorry. Fred Grandy and I, we would get into trouble.
All right, finishing up that.
And that's why we both are on our second wives. Because, Puerto Vallarta, oh my God. No, but we know. It had
you want to
nothing to do with
refill
it.
yet?
Yes, I do want to.
All right, no,
I'll do it.
I'll get it for you. I'm
No.
gonna give you
I know how to
There's
do
no
this.
light up there.
Huh?
All right, make your drink.
I know how to do this. Come on now.
Oh.
Hey.
If you can, put the cue back. There we go.
Come on now.
All right, while you're there, I'm coming up. While you're there.
Where's the milk? Oh, here it is.
Who had the filthiest mouth?
Ooh, Ethel Merman. Wow. Ethel Merman. Ethel Merman told the dirtiest jokes ever. And
keep 'em
they
drinking.
were
We're
funny.
going back.
And Ethel Merman hated Carol Channing.
Whoa.
I never knew that one, did you?
Whoa.
And she would say terrible things to Carol, and Carol, who is blonde, pretend like she didn't get any of
Now that you're loosening up, who were the two? Remember you talked to me about at one point about two stars that were trying to upstage each other?
Well, that was Ethel. That was Ethel and Carol.
Channing.
But Carol did it like passive aggressive. Like she didn't know she was upstaging you. Whereas Ethel would say, "You bitch, get back and do something." So they were funny. They were funny.
Which celebrity were you most excited to see, like stars in your eyes? Like, oh my God, this person's here.
Well, Diane Carroll. Oh. Diane Carroll was gorgeous, and she was a love interest, and we were in bed together.
You're like, don't pay me for this episode.
Yeah, it was like really, really great. And what I did was I said...
Did you ever date her?
No.
Try.
No. But she said, I said, I'm from the Actors Studio. I do method acting. She says, well, what does that mean? It means that I'm in bed and I don't have any clothes on. And she says, you're nude? I said, yeah. She says, oh my goodness. And I said, nothing you want to see? And I did like this. And she said, I'm not looking.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was fun. She was fun.
Which guest star was the most unlike their on-screen persona?
Zsa Zsa Gabor was terrible. Zsa Zsa Gabor. And Ava Gabor, her sister, was fun because Ava Gabor was always doing double entendres. Yeah. And then she'd pretend like, did I say something? Whereas Zsa Zsa, and Ava would say, I'm not my sister. I'm not a bitch like my sister. Because Zsa Zsa was really, she was a tough cookie.
Wow.
And she stole the shoes. She had them buy a certain kind of shoes, and she stole the shoes at the end of the episode. The wardrobe department said, we can't find the shoes. And someone said, Zsa Zsa took her shoes.
And they probably were real expensive shoes. So you said earlier, was perfect, that you've gone on record as saying the chemistry of the cast, the family of your cast is a huge part in what made your bond so strong. In fact, you, Gavin MacLeod, Bernie, and Fred Grandy are the only cast members, the four of you, that appeared in every episode of the TV series.
Yeah.
And you said you become lifelong friends. So I have a surprise for you tonight. There's a remote guest friend. Let's roll this clip.
So, Ted, your friends and your admirers at Theater Works in Hartford approached me and asked if I thought I could find a few nice things to say about you, and I said, of course. Just give me a couple of weeks and I'm sure I'll come up with something. But you know, you and I have heard the chimes at midnight. I mean, we've been together either on camera or on stage, on and off, for 45 years. And I hope you know that in that time, I have always had your back. Going back to our earliest days on Love Boat, when we felt, Bernie Coppell and I, that you were not getting the scripts that you deserved. So what did we do? Well, we just sat down and wrote a couple for you. And the next thing you know, you're getting directorial gigs, better parts in better shows. The rest is history. And then there was the time that I was invited to be a presenter at the Image Black Achievement Awards, and they said, well, you can bring a +1. I said, well, how about Ted Lange? And they said, okay. Of course, they wanted Sidney Poitier, but I insisted. And of course, you know, we did a great job that night. Wound up at the after party at Sammy Davis Jr., spending the night talking trash with Richard Dreyfuss. And then, just a couple of years ago, we had our triumphant return to the stage when you and I appeared in I'm Not Rappaport at the Red House Stage Company. And, of course, I know, since you're quite a bit older than me, you had a little trouble learning that huge part. So without even asking permission, I took it upon myself to not only learn my part, but yours as well. I didn't even bother saying thank you. And finally, I think it's time we cleared the air about those two girls we met years ago in Hong Kong. Now, according to the latest from their lawyer... Cut! Wait a minute!
No, we really had some good times. We really did. It is kind of a sin. We were getting paid a lot of money to travel the world, hang out with each other, and just have fun. You know, that's what we did. We just had fun. And he and I, we were on the same wavelength. And so it was really, really great. It really was great. And this, it's lasted all of this time. You know, and to tell you, he quit show business, went into politics and did some other stuff, came back a couple of years ago to the Red House Theater in Syracuse to do a play, Rappaport, together. And you think, I said, this guy hasn't been on stage in 30 years. Will we have the same chemistry? Will we have, will this work? Will he and I click? And we were sitting in the rehearsal hall. We read the first page. By the time we got to the bottom of the first page, I knew.
Oh.
I knew we were there.
He was so sweet when I spoke to him. He
he's
could
a
tell
great
he
guy.
loves you.
Yeah.
And in the small world of, I always say theater, TV. But so you and Fred worked with Jen's husband, Hunter.
Yeah.
And I worked with Jen, and I worked with Hunter on 2 different occasions. And here we are all together.
Yeah.
It's like
Isn't that
crazy.
great? It's absolutely great. It really is.
So you mentioned an episode a bit back that your friends. Let's dig into, because I have another clip I want to show. What was the episode, and can you set it up?
It was with Scatman Carruthers.
Scatman Carruthers.
And this is the deal. This is what the Love Boat did. We made things accessible to the general public. So Scatman played someone from the Negro Leagues. And when we aired this, nobody was talking about the Negro Leagues. This is for Ken Burns and all of the... Nobody knew about this stuff. And it came out of just Fred and I sitting around and Bernie and talking and stuff. And I did a thing called the ham bone. And because we were exchanging cultures at the same time. Because when I was doing this, there weren't that many black people on television. So a lot of times people didn't know how to interact. They just didn't know how to interact. So Fred and I and Bernie, we sit around and we talk and laugh and exchange stories. So
Scatman Crothers, they wrote an episode.
Yep,
Who wrote it?
Bernie and Fred, both of them.
Did they just write it or direct it? Wrote it?
No, they wrote it.
They wrote it, and the producers let them write it.
Yeah, they went to the producers and said, hey, here's the little game they play. They said, Ted, we don't know how to write for you. What do you mean you don't know how to write for me? He says, well, you're black and thing and so and so. I said, this isn't Sanford and Son. This isn't Good Times. This is about love. This is not a political show. And they go, well, we're not sure it's going to. And I said to them, listen, write a Gopher story. Just write a straight up Gopher story. And on the last read through, change Gopher to Isaac, and you got a story.
Oh, wow.
And Fred and Bernie had to prove that. And that's what they did. They wrote this story.
So we have a clip from that episode.
Okay.
Adam, let's roll it.
Now, like if you was to buy a bag of peanuts and a bag of popcorn, I'd throw in the ham bone.
Oh, but who can eat that much?
Oh, honey, ham bone ain't something you eat. Ham bone's something you do.
Why don't you show her?
I never could resist a command performance. So stand back, and I'm gonna give it a whack. Ham bone, where you been? Been around the world, I'm going again. Ham bone, what you say? Ham bone, every day. Stop it, don't stop the way.
That's all right, but I detect a distinct southeastern influence in that particular rendition. Now, back home in Oakland, we have our own refinements.
Young man, I hear more jawbone than I do ham bone.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Well, then, stand back. Ham bone, get on down. I do ham bone to the disco sound. Boogie with the ham bone day and night. Ham bone, out of sight. Out of sight.
Do you realize, young man, how many peanuts we could have sold together?
That was amazing.
Scatman did The Shining with Stanley Kubrick.
Yes.
He did?
Oh, yes.
And he told me a story. He said, sometimes you just don't know what's going on. So he did The Shining, and Kubrick says to Scatman, he's in his 60s at the time, he says, I want you to fall down the stairs. And he's got a hatchet in his chest.
Yeah.
So Scatman falls down. Cut. Let's do it again. Fall down. Cut. Let's do it again. Cut. And so finally he goes, after about 5 or 6 takes, he says, what do you want? Do you want me to go a little more to the left, or a little more to the right? He says, no, just do it again. Does it again. Boom. Cut. Does like 6 more times. And he goes, what is it? Tell me what you want. And Kubrick says, I want you to do it again. So he goes back up, does it again. And he had been going to the left, going to the right, going down the center, right? He does it again. And Kubrick says, okay, let's do it one more time. And Scatman goes over to Jack. He says, Jack, I'm 60 years old. I can't do it again. So Jack turns to Kubrick and says, that's enough. And they move on. Now, to me, that's an indignity, okay? Now, Pearl Bailey played my mother.
Yes.
On The Love Boat.
The first season.
First season.
And that was a big episode.
Big episode. And there was a director named Richard Kynan. Pearl Bailey, what it is Isaac gets jealous because an old black guy, Cab Calloway, is hitting on his mother. And so I say some things I shouldn't say, and I get up in my mother's face and I say some stuff, and she hits me. How dare you talk to me like that? Now, she's got rings on all of her fingers, right? So, and the director goes, cut, let's do it again. 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 And then finally go, after about 7, 8 times, go, hey, what do you need from me? He says, I need you to do it again. And so we do it again. Now, I'm such a novice that I'm putting my heart and soul into every take while she wails on my face. She, at a certain point, she knows what's going on. They've got it. This guy just wants to see me get smacked, okay? So finally, he gets what he says. After about 20, I'm not kidding you, 25 takes of getting slapped, he says, okay, I got it. So Pearl Bailey comes over to me. She said, what's your sign? I said, I'm a Capricorn. Why? She says, I just want to know your sign. So we break for lunch, come back from lunch, and she has a Tiffany box that she sent her assistant out, and the guy went to Tiffany's and got me a silver Tiffany medallion with my horoscope sign on it. And she says, this is for what you did this morning. She says, you were very professional, and so on and so on. Now, that guy, his name is Richard Kynan. I called him back of the head Kynan because whenever I did a scene and he was directing, he would put the camera behind the back of my head onto the person sitting at the bar. Now, by rights, what they're supposed to do is after they shoot a master, then they shoot it over the shoulder, or maybe a close-up, then they're supposed to come around and shoot you. And he would never shoot me. He would go, no, that's okay, we don't need it. And I said, well, what are you talking about? He says, well, Ted, we don't need it. And so he would do this. I mean, okay, one time you say, okay, maybe that show. But he would do this all the time, okay? So, and I said to Bernie, Bernie, this guy ain't right, man. He never covers me in the scene. He says, well, no, kind is this and that and da-da-da. And I go, no, man, he always puts the camera in the back of my head. And so what I did was, this was my defense, is we would do a sign, person would come in, serve him a drink, what do you have? Do the dialogue, blah, 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 blah. Like, what do you have? Margarita. Okay, I got a margarita for you, so-and-so, so-and-so, right? So I'd rehearse it the natural way. Then, when they say, okay, we're ready to take, this is what I would do. It says, and action.
Oh my God.
What do you have? I have a margarita. I got a margarita for you.
Yeah.
That's the only way it's going to get a close-up. And so then I tell the camera operator that was our thing. I said, it's Kynan. And they go, okay, Ted. We know, so, because they got to pull a focus and everything.
Yeah,
when so I would do all my lines to the camera and turn around, and then, when she has her lines. Yeah. That was, I'll give you one other thing that he did, because I was always telling, I said, Bernie, this guy's not right. He said, no, that's your imagination. That was always the thing.
Yeah.
I think this guy is, I wouldn't say racist, I would just say, this guy's not right.
Right.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't right. He wasn't right. So one day, Bernie and I are doing a scene, and he says to me, he says, hey, Ted, I want you to clean the glass. With the thing. I said, okay. So Bernie comes up to the bar. He says, Isaac, so-and-so, so-and-so. I go, yeah, Doc, so-and-so, and such, and don't, down. And so then they go, cut. And Bernie would go over to Kynan. He said, hey, why is Ted cleaning the glass? I got this speech, and he's not listening to me. He says, I don't know. I'll go talk to him. So he comes over to me. He says, I think you could clean the glass a little more. Right? So then Bernie would come up. And,
what a sicko.
Yeah. So we shoot his scene, and I go, and Bernie's going, and he cut. Goes, he's still cleaning the glass. He says, yeah, I don't know why he's doing that. And so here's the thing that these guys don't understand. Bernie and I are friends. So after the scene was over and we walked back to our trailer, he says, asshole, why did you clean the glass? I said, because Kynan told me to. He said, no, he didn't. He told you to stop. I said, no, Bernie. He kept telling me you had to do more. No. He says, son of a bitch. He says, well, I'm going to keep my eye on him from now on. And so then I got an ally for when I could go, hey, because the black guy and the white guy, who are they going to listen to? They're going to listen to Bernie Coppell. They're not going to listen to me, you know? And I would go to Bernie, I said, watch Kynan in this thing because he's doing such and such. And that's kind of the stuff we had to go through, you know? And I have to tell you this. At the time, Bob Guillaume was doing Soap, and Ron Glass was doing Barney Miller. We had to figure out how to navigate white Hollywood because we were the only black guys on an all-white show, and they would do things to us. And we had to figure out, without getting mad or without calling names or anything, how to get parody, you know? And so I would double date with Guillaume, and I would double date with Ron Glass. And so I'd say, hey, Ron, what would you do in this situation? He said, well, I do so and so and so. And he said, Ted, I had this said. Well, how would you handle it? So we would give each other information so that we could, because you'll see a black guy get fired just like that on a white, if he's on an all-white show, and they say, well, we had creative differences. Blah, blah, blah. We had to navigate those waters because sometimes they didn't really want you there, but the network wanted you there, you know? So they would do things, you know? And so that's what we had to learn, you know? And can I tell the thing about the money?
Yes.
I'm going to tell about the money.
Tell the money.
Okay.
You were just going through my question. I knew I had to ask you one question.
Yeah, and then that would be it.
I'm like putting things around. It's fantastic. Yeah, please do.
Okay, I was talking to the cast, and we were telling stories. I have a lot of stories. One of the stories was, they signed us to 5-year contracts. They usually sign you to 7 years. They signed us to 5 years. So year 4, our contracts were going to be up for year 5, and they wanted us to re-sign. And they didn't want to pay us a lot of money. So what there is there's a disparity between a black performer and a white performer. They always pay the black performer less than the white performer. And as an example, Dennis Quaid did a movie with Lou Gossett after he won the Academy Award. Dennis Quaid got $7 million. Lou Gossett got $700,000. Okay? That's just to give you an idea. Now, anybody that's black in Hollywood knows this. We all know this, okay? So, they come to the cast, and we're tiered. Gavin and Tweez are at the top tier. They make the most money. Then me, Fred, and Bernie are on the second tier, and then Jill is on the third tier, okay? So they come to us, and I had been asking to direct. And they said, no, you can't direct. We don't want you to direct. I went to the American Film Institute to direct. No, we don't want you to direct. We don't want you to. And if you direct, the rest of the cast will want to direct. I go to the cast. You guys want to direct? No. And so they don't want to direct. We don't care. We're not letting you direct. So they say to me, how much money do you want to come back? We're renegotiating the contract. And I say, I'm just so happy to be here. And I found out about Favorite Nations. Do you know what Favorite Nations is?
They might not know.
Favorite Nations is everybody gets the same. Or whoever the star is, you can't pay if somebody breaks out, you can't pay that person more than the star. That's Henry Winkler and Ron Howard. Ron Howard had Favorite Nations. Henry Winkler breaks out, and they try to give him more, but they can't because they got to give the same thing to Ron Howard. So I learned about Favorite Nations. And so they said, well, what do you want, Ted? I said, I'm just happy to be here. Whatever you want to pay me. You're going to, Bernie, Fred, and I are on the same tier, right? They go, yeah. I said, well, whatever you pay them. And they go, no, name a figure. And I said, I don't have a figure. Just whatever you pay Bernie and Fred, I'll take whatever that is. Now, if I get what they get, I'm getting more than any black guy is going to get on television, okay? So they go, okay, favorite nations. And I said, and I'd like to direct an episode. Okay, you'll direct an episode. Now I got them because they, direct. So we would meet in my trailer, Fred's trailer, Bernie's trailer, and Bernie would say, I deserve more money than you guys. I've been around longer than you.
Really?
Yeah, and he done Get Smart, he done That Girl, he said, I deserve more money than you. And I said, Bernie, I hope you take them for as much as you can. you asked for the moon. He said, you think I'm playing? I said, no, I hope you're not playing that. I want you to get as much as you can get. So, here's what they did, the final result. They come to us, and we've all got favorite nations, okay? Now, let's say it's $10,000 an episode, okay? So Bernie's getting Bernie's getting 10, Ted, 10,000. Fred, and then myself. We're all getting 10,000. And just before we sign the contract, they come to me and they say, listen, you still want to direct? I go, yeah. They said, well, here's what we've come up with. If you really want to direct, we're going to pay you $9,000. And then that other $1,000 will be made up when you direct an episode. So you really will be working twice as hard for the same amount of money. And so I said, I still want it. I still want to direct. So what happens is the whole year, they're all equal, and I'm down a notch. And then in the end, when I do it, we're all even.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I did. But what I didn't count on, what I didn't realize, is that the Directors Guild pays more for residuals. So by the end of the year, I went.
You said something, it's a quick one, because it's what talking about when we were talking about the flavor of the month scenario when being cast in Hollywood. Like at one time they wanted New York actors at one.
Oh yeah.
It's Say a little bit about. It's very interesting how that.
It's now stand-ups and hip hop.
Right.
That's what the flavor is now. I was very fortunate that when I came into Hollywood, I was a New York actor and I had done Broadway because at that time that's what they were looking for. Then it went to stand-up comedians. Now it's hip hop artists or musical artists that they think can act. So you get Justin Timberlake doing drama, you know what I mean? And Kevin Hart through the stand-up, So it just goes in cycles, and that's what the cycle is right now. Yeah.
Adam, it's okay. Can I switch a clip? Okay. Last spring, when the COVID shut the world down, we shifted to fully remote. And I started an Instagram live show called Get Sauced, where I would invite, it was just like this, guest artists, except it was all online and I'd be in my kitchen drinking. And and we dove as the theater into the work, and we examined our own complicity. And I want to show you a clip from one of those shows where my dear friend Ife Butler, Chicago actress, do you know Ife? Mm-hmm. Came on and she said something that affected myself and the whole team here. And I want to talk about it.
And in my, where I come from, and because I've been doing this so long, there are many times I'm the only African-American in the entire production.
Wow.
I don't, off and on stage. And, when you're in that position, oh my God, you're teaching costumers how to costume you. You're teaching people how to do your hair. You're teaching somebody to give me the right makeup. Do you have hoes for me? Oh, they don't have hoes in my town that look like you. But you knew I was coming. You can't make artists that you invite to your house feel like they got to bring the groceries, the bed, the covers, the blankets, the food. You got to at least, I was coming. Prepare for my arrival.
Yeah, amen.
But I think sometimes people just take the talent and they forgo all of that. And that's why sometimes once you're out of the rehearsal room, it can become really tense for people when you get in tech, when they don't have the things that they need. When I get ready to go into tech, and I'm the only black one in the show, and I'm just using this as an example. And all of the European women in the cast have wigs that are appropriate and the hair texture they need to be, have the hose that are the color they need to be, have undergarments dyed to the skin color they need to be, have all of those things available to them. And I'm like bringing my pantyhose from Chicago, having to ship them out because you didn't know where to get them from. You don't have a wig person that has any idea about African American hair, because no matter what the character is I'm doing, I am African American. That doesn't change for the audience. So you want me to look like the best African American that you hired to do the piece. But sometimes the prep work hasn't been done, so that's not a cross I have to bear once I get out of the rehearsal room. I'm great in the rehearsal room.
Wow.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we did Ella together.
Wow.
And we did Follies together.
Wow.
And I called her because, you know, it was a really uncomfortable and vulnerable and painful time. And I called her up and I was like, Faye, I just remember us having a really great collaboration. Am I misremembering it? Because I really need to know. And she said, no, Rob, it was fabulous because you asked.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you to comment on what she said as a black artist. You know, you're not a female artist, usually have more hair needs than that. But she was saying, if you're going to invite us, if you're going to invite me to come to work on a show, just set the table right. You know, have sheets on the bed.
Yeah.
I mean, metaphorically, have the things that I need
right.
to work. Do you
Well,
want
people don't do that. They don't do that. You're really not considered. It's like the pay.
Yeah.
The white actors, we're going to take care of the white. You know what they used to do with me on Love Boat is we'd stand in a line and the makeup would come and they'd hold up the mirror and the artist would check their hair and then they'd pat you down. Then they'd go to the next one and they'd do the hair and they'd pat you down. They'd come to me and they'd say, oh, you look fine. And then they'd go, they would never,
Wow.
you know, and so I believed them. They said, you look fine. I thought, oh, it's great. And then I watched some of the shows as they got aired, and there was lint all in my hair and stuff. And so they would do the same thing, da-da-da, da-da-da. You look all right. I said, wait a minute. Let me see. You can't get mad. See, this is the key, because then you become the angry black person.
Right.
You can't get mad. So you go, well, I look fine? Yeah, you look great. Let me see. Hand me the mirror like you hand the mirror to them. So then they'd hand you the mirror. I go, oh, wait, this is not your fault. It's just me. I'm sorry. You know,
Wow.
and that's the stuff. So that's the thing we learned. Okay, so my mustache. See how this mustache is? This is the original mustache. When I first did the show, because I wanted to maintain some ethnic stuff to it, so I had my mustache down here like this. And we had a makeup person called Larry Darr. And I called him Cowboy because he used to be a cowboy actor. And then when he saw things happening, he went into makeup so he had some longevity to his career. And he became the #1 glamour makeup guy in Hollywood. The #1 guy, because these women would come on and they wouldn't take their makeup off when they go home because they say, I want my husband to see how I look, you know? And so one day I'm sitting in the chair and he says, Ted, your mustache is a little even. Want me to even it out a little bit? I go, yeah, sure. And he goes, oops. And I go, what do you mean, oops? He says, I think I went too high on your mustache. I said, Larry, you're the greatest makeup artist in Hollywood. You never say oops. As long as I've been here, you've never said oops. What's going on? He said, nothing. I said, no, don't do that. We're friends. What the fuck is going on? Well, Doug Kramer wants your mustache shorter. And I said, well, all he had to do was ask. Just ask. Just say, hey, Ted, we were looking at the dailies and we think you should have your mustache to be shorter. And I would say, why? And they'd say this and then general audience, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. You know? But that's how they dealt with us. You know what I mean? They couldn't just sit down and talk to you. They had to be surreptitious about it, you know? So that's why, like he said, Fred Granny said, I always had your back. That's no bullshit. That's no bullshit. That guy had my back. He was my friend, and Bernie too. Because I would get into situations, and they were, when I directed an episode, and they said, and I've been asking them for 4 years. I finally directed an episode, and Doug Kramer says, well, you know, Ted, you did really a good job. And so you have another episode to do next year. Do you want it in the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, or at the end of the year? And I said, well, actually, Doug, you've been saying you're looking for good directors. I want one in the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end.
Yes.
You know? And Tweez said, that's a great idea. Had my back.
Julie McCoy.
Julie McCoy said, that's a great idea, because we love working with Ted as our director. And Bernie and Fred chimed in. Yeah, so now the guy's stuck. He gives me 3 episodes. He has to give me 3 episodes. You know, sorry.
I see. No, I'm fine with going a little bit further because I have a couple of things. Are we good? All right. I see Michael's there. Michael has some questions from the audience he's bringing over.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Michael McKiernan. Before I go here, though, I cannot leave tonight without saying that you are an author and a playwright. Here's a couple of your books.
On Amazon. They're on Amazon.
On Amazon. You call yourself a footnote historian. What does that mean?
That means if you ever look at American history and you want to see African American participation, you have to read the footnotes, because they don't give us the time of day. So I started, like I've got a play, there's a trilogy there, the Footnote Historians Trilogy. One takes place in the American Revolution. It deals with George Washington and his relationship with his slave William Lee, who he freed on his deathbed, and how he got from point A to being able to do that. It's a fascinating story. That's in that play. I've got a second play about John Brown and Harper's Ferry. Whenever they talk about John Brown, they talk about his sons. They don't talk about 5 black guys that were with John Brown at Harper's Ferry. 2 of them died at the ferry. 2 of them were hung with John Brown. 1 got away. And his name was Osborne P. Anderson. And the play is from Osborne's POV, okay? And then the third one is Lady Patriot, and these are all true stories. Lady Patriot is a girl named Mary Bowser, who was a slave girl, and she was in Jeff Davis's Civil War White House. And she was a spy for the Union. She could read and write. And Mary Bowser got all the information out and then got it to the spy network. She would bake bread, and she would put the information in the bread and then give the bread to her contact. And that's how she got the information out. So I wrote a play about that.
You've written, what, 22?
5.
5. No, 22.
25.
25.
I've written 3.
25, okay.
Yeah, no,
5.
that's an old
25.
Yeah, I've got a trilogy now, a Shakespearean trilogy on Amazon now called Shakespeare Over My Shoulder. One I was telling you about was about Shylock and what it's like to be an immigrant in Venice, Italy, in the 1500s. I was so mad at Trump and the way he was treating the immigrants. I started writing a play about being Mexican and then, or coming up through Mexico. Then I decided, no, sometimes they don't hear you. So I decided, how far I went back to the 1500s. Yeah, I love Shakespeare. So I took Merchant of Venice, and everything in that play happens when Shylock is off stage. So if you were to read Merchant of Venice and then Shylock goes off stage, that's where my play begins. Wow. And it's written in verse, okay? And it's the whole thing. Kol Nidre is a thing that Jewish people recite because it was during the Spanish Inquisition, and they were penalized. And so the Jewish people came up with the Kol Nidre. So my play opens up with the Lord's Prayer and the Kol Nidre. And Jessica, the daughter of Shylock, falls in love with a Christian. And so it's that whole thing. And one of Shylock's best friends is Othello. So they both talk about being an immigrant in Venice. And so it was fascinating to find. I love research and I love history. So that's one Shakespearean play, The Tears of Shylock. I got another one called The Cause My Soul, which is a prequel to Othello. That's also in verse, and that won Best Play 2017 in Los Angeles. And then I got a third play that grew out of me doing a speaking engagement at the Mark Twain. Remember when I came up and I did the thing at the Mark Twain? Well, there's a 400-year controversy on whether or not Shakespeare wrote the plays, and I got a lot of information out of that event, and then I went and got some more information. So it's a play that takes place during the pandemic in England, 1593, and Shakespeare's a young man. He could have written the plays. Edward de Vere, young man, he could have written the plays. Francis Bacon and Christopher Marlowe
could have written the plays.
And all four of them are in a tavern. And it's my theory on what unfolded based on the information they gave me.
Isn't that amazing? Your mind is amazing.
Yeah, really is. It's fun.
I want to leave some space for a couple of audience questions. One of them says, comparing your career on stage, TV, and movies, and you are on stage now, what area of performance gives you the most satisfaction?
I really love the theater. I really do. And I'm very lucky that I love the theater because Hollywood, after Love Boat, it got to be kind of tough getting TV gigs. I would get them periodically, but it got real tough. But my secret was, and this is what they don't know, is that I love theater just as much as I
You're
I love
a theater
television.
guy.
I'm a theater guy.
I know. Well, you know, Val was a big friend of mine, Valerie Harper, and like I know there are people who are just theater people, and they always come back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just a theater person.
Yeah.
You're a theater person.
And I'm very fortunate with that I get as much pleasure. It's like watching Jen Cody on stage. I just sit. I go, God damn, that girl is
cracking
good.
Up today.
Is she good? Huh?
She's amazing.
She's good, man. No.
She's stop.
Yeah, you gotta come see the show though, because Randy and Jen and myself, we're a unit. We're a unit.
Three.
We're locked in. And again, we didn't know each other till we showed up here, but there's a chemistry that's really bouncing off the walls, you know, and it's a fun time.
Do you like to take cruises, or did you just pretend to on TV?
No, I like cruises. I really do. I like cruises, and I liked meeting the people that took the cruise with us, you know, like the celebrities, you know, that would come on board. Yeah, that was fun.
Before I wrap up, there's one, you have a quote recently in an article that you did about the show and tonight, and you said about Isaac, there was one problem. I did not know how to mix drinks. And you said, I was probably the actor who had never worked as a bartender at one point. During the first season, if you watch closely, and I double-checked this, I always poured a mixed drink from a picture and stuck an umbrella in it. And then you went on to go to bartending school when you knew it was a hit. But tonight, unbeknownst to you, up in the cocktail hour, we served our feature cocktail was a cocktail that called the Isaac, that Princess Cruises debuted in 2015 in your honor. Do you remember the ingredients?
Now, first of all, let me say, that was Fred Grandy's idea.
Oh.
He says, you're wasting this guy here. He said, well, the guy goes, Princess Cruises, what do you mean? He said, well, you should have an Isaac cocktail. No, I didn't think like that. Fred did. So you take
do you remember the ingredients?
White rum, pomegranate, club soda, and leaves from a thing.
Let's watch and find out if you're correct.
Oh. Now,
You missed it.
since my favorite cruise destination is the Caribbean, I thought that I would start with a little white rum, okay?
White rum.
2 ounces should do it. Uno and dos. Whoops, that's Spanish. How do you say 1, 2 in Jamaican?
1, 2.
Perfect. All right, next, we're gonna add 2 ounces of pomegranate syrup. Now, you'll notice it's red to go with my jacket, but pomegranate juice is also an aphrodisiac. Only a couple of ounces of this. Then I wanna add a little bit of lime juice. Now, the lime juice, I'm just gonna add half an ounce. Now, what we do is, we take this, we put it on here, and then we shake it. We don't stir it. We shake it. I taught James Bond that, by the way. All right, now, you add a little ice to the glass so it gets a little cold, okay? I'm gonna put in a lime right here like that. That makes it look good. All right, now, we take the strainer, put it over here, and now we're gonna strain the drink up to where it covers the ice. Now, when you get that far, I want you to then add a little club soda. This tops it off, gives it nice color. Look at that, looking good. Then we add 2 pineapple leaves in tribute to my signature move, the point. And we're gonna get a little lime in there, so if they wanna squeeze a little lime on the top of that, they can. Okay, the most important thing about this is when you serve this drink, you give them the point. Can you do that? No, a little more enthusiasm, come on. That's right. Now, this is what we call the ice.
That's fun. That's fun.
I had to leave on the point.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. So if you love Ted, and now you love Jen too. Come see Christmas on the Rocks. Tell your friends. It's really important, as all of the theaters in Connecticut and around the country reemerge, that we come back to the theater. And if you follow us and get our emails, you'll know that Dr. Sten came and told us we were, if not the safest facility in the state because of our renovation. The air turns around 6 or 7 times an hour. And we're staying masked. So it's safe to come back. Please come back, and they're amazing. It starts December 2nd. I want to thank the amazing Theater Works Hartford staff for making this possible. They're all around you, and we're in rehearsal on putting this set up. And a special shout out to our event producer and our AV supervisor, Adam Binns, who did all the video work. And Michael McKiernan, who used to work with us, and now he helped me put this whole program together. Michael, yes. And Maselli Productions. Mike Maselli is actually the sound designer for Christmas on the Rocks, and his company captured tonight's talk so we can have it in perpetuity. And you for joining us. And on your way out, Ted has a special gift for all of you. Which you'll all get a signed photo. Thank you all for coming. Have a safe evening. Good night. Go ahead, pal. There you go. Come on up.
Exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you and love. Life's sweetest reward. Let it flow. It floats back to you. an open smile.